for exactly 50 years. We're talking from the 1950s all the way through the 90s and straight into the early 2000s.
The moment those scientists at MBARI looked at their monitors in 2004, deep-sea biology was changed forever. For 50 years, scientists had looked at this flat-faced preserved specimen. They saw two small circular openings on the front of its face and—
Let's actually pause on step 2 for a second, because this is incredible. The footage captured the barreleyes' eyes tilting from perfectly vertical to perfectly horizontal.
It really highlights the massive difference modern technology makes. For decades, scientists had specimens of the fish, but they were completely missing the structure that made its anatomy so extraordinary.
But the sheer scale of this miscalculation is just stunning. Because those two little openings everyone thought were eyes, yeah, they were actually just nostrils.
The answer brings us right back to the discovery that changed everything. The transparent dome isn't just a fluid lens for their vision, it's literally a suit of armor.
A lot of the answer to that lies in the flaws of collection artifacts. Almost everything we know about deep-sea life comes from dead specimens pulled up in trawl nets. But the barreleye represents this perfect paradigm shift. It's one of those wonderfully rare moments in science where observing an animal in its natural environment, the barreleye actually hovers directly beneath these massive siphonophore colonies. These things have trailing tentacles loaded with nematosis, basically super powerful stinging cells that paralyze tiny zooplankton. Well, the solution to this paradox is truly remarkable. The crucial point here is that these eyes aren't fixed. Just picture hovering almost completely motionlessly in the near-silent depths. You're deep underwater in this dim, blue world where sunlight is practically gone. That 2004 discovery finally showed us the living animal's incredible architectural biology. This dome, which is actually formed by a forward extension of the fish's transparent scales, for half a century, every published scientific paper, every single textbook, every museum diagram.
Actually, scratch that. They didn't just see them, they confidently labeled them as eyes. But the living footage revealed those so-called eyes were actually olfactory organs. They were nostrils. The real eyes were hiding behind a massive, totally intact,
rotating entirely within the sockets, right inside that fluid-filled dome. I mean, sure, other vertebrate eyes can pan and tilt a little bit, but this full 90-degree rotation from straight up to straight forward.
The fish brought up in nets arrived deeply damaged. That fragile, transparent dome was just totally destroyed on the rough journey up to the surface, leaving preserved specimens with distorted bodies and eyes that looked permanently fixed. The real eyes were these huge, brilliant green, tubular structures hidden entirely inside a completely transparent, fluid-filled dome covering the top of its head.
The resilient, scale-derived barrier of that dome takes the hits from the stinging cells. The nematocysts fire against the surface of the dome, but they can't penetrate it.
And that violent process of dragging these creatures through thousands of meters of water, it is devastating. The extreme pressure drop just crushes gas-filled spaces. Massive temperature shifts physically warp the tissues. And the harsh mechanical grinding of the net didn't just point out a flaw. It immediately, in real time, corrected decades of flawed net-caught assumptions. It offered us the problem and the exact solution in a single stroke of ROV footage. So the barreleye just waits for the exact moment the siphonophore catches something, and before the colony can pull the paralyzed prey up to digest it, the fish darts in and snatches it right out of the tentacles. It's maneuvering within literally centimeters of danger. For the longest time, the scientific assumption was that they were permanently stuck looking up, but observations of living specimens completely overturn that idea. The big reveal is that these tubular eyes all around you, drifting slowly through the pitch-black water, is marine snow. Those tiny organic particles continuously falling into the abyss. Well, it isn't just some protective piece of armor. It completely encloses those tubular eyes within a bubble of clear gel-like fluid. And here's the absolute genius of it. That fluid has optical properties. It acts as a refractive lens, bending the ambient light as it enters the dome from above. They all labeled two small circular openings on the front of this fish's face as its eyes. It was just an accepted global biological fact.
fluid-filled, transparent dome that covered the entire top of the fish's head. Every single specimen caught in those old trawl nets had this dome burst and collapse during the ascent to the surface, leaving absolutely zero clue that this protective, clear bubble had ever existed.
Happening right inside a refractive gel bubble is the only documented case of its kind in the entire vertebrate world.
Seeing these creatures alive in their natural environment allowed researchers to finally confirm the intact delicate shield and that incredible rotating vision. It completely transformed our biological understanding.
The flat face they'd been studying was a total illusion, completely masking one of the most wildly adapted visual systems on the planet.
Keeping those incredibly sensitive rotating green eyes completely 100% safe from harm while the fish plucks its stolen meal right out of the tentacles.
Distorts delicate structures totally beyond recognition. It creates these anatomical illusions that just sit in jars in museums for decades, eventually being recorded in textbooks as irrefutable scientific fact. It's a huge reminder that studying a preserved, mangled specimen in a lab is often absolutely nothing like studying a living, breathing animal in the wild. And remember that transparent dome we talked about? Well, in this specific scenario, it serves a brilliant secondary function. It acts as a literal physical shield, protecting those highly sensitive, massive green eyes from the stinging cells, which just fire completely harmlessly against the gel-like exterior. Physically rotate from an upward-facing orientation all the way toward the front, pivoting seamlessly inside a clear, fluid-filled shield. And out of this dark, indistinct silhouette emerges an animal that's going to challenge our very understanding of biology. So this fluid is actively adding refractive power to the whole optical system, working right alongside the eye's own cornea and lens. It is literally boosting the fish's ability to gather and focus light way beyond what the physical eyes could do on their own.
Speaking of the mysteries waiting out there in the dark, you are absolutely not going to want to miss our next explainer. Next week, we are breaking down the most epic predator-prey battle in the entire ocean, a clash of absolute titans that is happening right now in complete pitch-black darkness. It is a massive story, and we're going to break down exactly how it happens. Until then, keep questioning what you see.
All right, let's wrap up this explainer here. I want you to jump into the comments right now and tell me, what other deep-sea species do you think we are still completely wrong about? And which unbelievable feature of the barreleye did you find the most fascinating? Let me know down below. And hey, make sure to hit subscribe so you definitely don't miss next week's explainer, where we are diving into the epic, deep ocean battles between the giant squid and the sperm whale. It's going to be a good one. Until then, always keep questioning what you think you know. Now, our next mystery is written directly onto the bodies of giants. Be sure to subscribe for our next explainer, where we'll decode the scars left by battles humans almost never witness. We're going to be investigating the epic, deep ocean clashes between enormous sperm whales and giant squid. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive, and I will see you in the next explainer.
And the profoundest scientific implication that you really need to take away from this explainer today is that the collection process itself has literally been blinding us. Because of pressure damage and preservation artifacts, an entirely unknown number of deep-sea species are currently categorized and understood by science only in forms that are significantly, wildly distorted from how they actually look and function when they're alive.
Okay, so the absolutely crucial point here is that this isn't just a weird-looking face, it's a literal masterpiece of optical engineering. The Barreleye has the most light-gathering efficient eye design per unit of retinal area of any vertebrate we have ever measured. Think about that. Each eye is this long tube with a massive curved cornea at the top and a really dense retina packed tightly with rod photoreceptors down at the bottom. This setup creates a giant aperture designed to capture the absolute maximal amount of light from a very tiny, very specific slice of the ocean right about it.
And this is exactly why the barreleye's eyes are glowing green. That color isn't just for show, not at all. It's a highly specialized filter pigment located right inside the lens of each eye. This green filter selectively absorbs the exact blue wavelengths of light that prey use for their camouflage, effectively stripping away their invisibility cloak. At the very same time, it transmits the precise wavelengths that allow the dark, solid silhouettes of the prey to stand out against the background. It's essentially a pair of built-in deep-sea night vision goggles designed to completely defeat biological camouflage. Armed with these optical weapons, the Barreleye executes a perfectly tuned method for catching its meals. Down at roughly 600 meters, right in the mesopelagic zone, the fish just hovers, completely totally motionless. It uses its large, flat fins to stay perfectly stable in the water column. And while resting in this position, safely inside that transparent fluid dome, its green tubular eyes are pointed straight up toward the surface, scanning whatever faint diminishing sunlight is left for any sign of a meal.
Let's go ahead and correct an immediate visual illusion. When you look right at the front of the fish, you see these two small dark spots right above its tiny mouth. You'd think those are the eyes, but actually they aren't at all. They're olfactory organs. Essentially, they're the fish's nostrils used for smell. It's a massive anatomical curveball right from the start.